Hey, what's up? For those of you that are new to the channel or don't know me, my name is Josh, and I'm just sharing Bible stories with you. Today, I am rocking KG with the Celtics. KG, obviously, he's my favorite player of all time, regardless of sport. And so when he went to the Celtics, I was like, I'm cheering for him no matter what. I'm obviously still a Wolves fan, but him winning that championship in Boston was probably the greatest sports moment in my life. Like, the Miracle is close, Minneapolis Miracle, but then they lost the next week. And I was alive for the Twins titles, but wasn't. I was 1-4 when it happened, 5 when it happened. So I don't really remember those at all, or really understood obviously the gravity of what it meant for a Minnesota team to win a championship. So for when KG won in Boston, said anything is possible after the struggle I watched him go through every year after year after year in Minnesota. It was so cool to see him win that. And then he said, these are for my guys back in Soda. And I'm excited that KG is back, part of the Wolves organization. I can't wait to see what he does and have him just around the Target Center again. The Bible story I'm going to talk about, since we are here to talk about the Bible, not just sports, even though I can talk sports all day. I love it. Talking about Thomas today, doubting Thomas as he's known as, which I don't think is fair because I'm sure he did a lot of great stuff. He was one of the disciples, to just be known for as doubting Thomas. Honestly, I kind of feel bad for him a little bit, but also, and I'll read the story here. It's just like 5 verses in John, and then I want to talk a little bit about doubting Thomas and how you guys have all maybe heard the story, or at least you know the name Doubting Thomas or a little bit. But some things that really stand out to me that I missed for sure as a kid reading this story. So I'm in John 20, verse 24 through 29. Now Thomas, called the twin, one of the 12, was not with them when Jesus came. The other disciples therefore said to him, "We have seen the Lord." So he said to them, "Unless I see his hands, the print of the nails, and put my fingers in the print of the nails, and put my hand into his side, I will not believe." And after 8 days, his disciples were again inside, and Thomas with them. Jesus came, the doors being shut, and stood in the midst and said, "Peace to you." Then he said to Thomas, "Reach your finger here, and look at my hands, and reach your hand here, and put it into my side. Do not be unbelieving, but believing." And Thomas answered and said to him, "My Lord and my God." Jesus said to him, "Thomas, because you have seen me, you have believed. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed." So the first thing I want to point out is I think Thomas gets a bad rap because Thomas was not with them when Jesus appeared to the other disciples. So let's pump the brakes a little bit on doubting Thomas. Okay, he wasn't there. The other disciples were. They were there when Jesus saw. So they said, "Hey, our master that died, he's alive again. We saw him." Thomas was like, not sure about that. But the other people all saw him. So I think that's fair. But secondly, I want you to notice what Jesus does in response to Thomas's doubt. Because I don't know if because as a kid, I remember the lesson being believe without seeing, right? That's kind of the message of the gospel of Christianity for those of us, right, who were not alive to see Jesus walk. We can't see God, but we know he's there. We can communicate. We can fellowship with the Holy Spirit. We can worship. We can read about him, but we have not seen him with our own eyes, right? But we still believe. As I got older and I started to kind of wonder and have doubts and not sure about things and went through some stuff and yeah, life causes you to doubt sometimes. I like reading that story now because the only lesson, it's a good lesson, better to believe without seeing. But the lesson there is not that Jesus was mad at Thomas. It's not even that it was bad that Thomas believed that he just says, "Because you have seen me, you have believed. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet believe." Jesus wasn't mad at Thomas. He didn't call him doubting Thomas. He said, "Okay, Thomas, I'm here. You want to see me? Here's your evidence. Here I am." And so I just think that's such a different perspective of this story of Thomas that we are all kind of like, oh, we shouldn't be like Thomas. But if I'm honest, sometimes I'm like Thomas. Sometimes I doubt. Sometimes I have questions. Like I said, I go through some things, right? When Savon died, I had questions. I doubted. But it's what you do with that doubt that makes a difference here. Because Jesus is not afraid of your questions. God is not afraid of your doubts. He will meet you in that place. He's going to help you with that. And the key here for Thomas is that even though he doubted, he still showed up. And that's something that really has blown my mind and really been important for me the last, I'll say 5 years now, since 2020 when Savon died and everything that we all went through in 2020. I still show up. Like sometimes I doubt, but I still show up. Sometimes I'm frustrated. Sometimes I don't get it. But I still go to church on Sunday and I still read my Bible and I still have conversations with God and conversations with Jocelyn and friends about life, about all of this stuff. And I just feel like growing up in a word of faith church, when you start to doubt, when you have questions, you just you feel bad, you get frustrated, maybe you throw it all out. I know I've talked to people and heard of people who once they had questions and doubt, they started, deconstructing was a big thing that everybody used and was the word everyone used in 2020. And they just threw everything out because they had questions and they had doubt and I don't get it. But you don't throw everything out because you doubt. You still show up and you give Jesus an opportunity to show himself to you. And you surround yourself with people like he doubted, but he still surrounded himself with the disciples, with people that were encouraging him and people that were positive. And I just think it's so important what you do when you doubt. Doubting is not the end of the world, right? We all have doubts, but it's what you do when you doubt. Do you still show up? Do you give Jesus the opportunity? Because he will meet you in those doubts. He's not afraid of your questions. He's not afraid of your doubts. He'll meet you there and he'll help you through that. But it's so important that we continue to show up, that we continue to surround ourselves with the right people. All right, Jesus wasn't mad at him. Jesus showed up and just said, hey, look, I know you said you won't believe unless you see. Here I am. So if you're doubting, continue to show up, surround yourself with the right people, and then bring those doubts to God and allow him to meet you in that place, because he will. God's not going to leave you alone in your doubts. Now, if you run from God because of your doubts and you stop going to church and hanging out with these people, that's going to become a problem. But if you take those doubts to God, if you continue to show up, if you continue to surround yourself with the right people, he'll meet you in that place. And honestly, he'll help you out. He'll help you see it. He is not afraid of your doubts. Just bring them to him and allow him to meet you in that place.